Hey, Brent, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Dr. Felicia, I'm so happy to be on here. Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I'm blessed.
Where you're in Florida, hurricanes bothered you? It's been a little bit, but have
Yes,
you?
ma'am. They did. We've been very, very fortunate. The last two have come right by us. We didn't personally get a lot of damage. We got a little bit of damage, but it could have been so much worse. And
Yeah,
I'll just leave it
yeah.
at that. Thank God.
Good job. Nice. Very good. Very good. So I know you were in the service and I did your introduction. What branch of the service were you in? And thank you for your service. We'll put that out there too.
Thank you. I was in the Army. Went to basic training in Lawton, Oklahoma.
So you guys, if anybody didn't know, that's where I live right now. And it is right now. We'll see how long this lasts. Now you're in Florida and you're doing a bunch of stuff with investing, but you weren't born that way, I assume, because if you were, you probably wouldn't have gone into the military, or maybe you would have gone into the military. How did you learn about money? How did you get from just born Brent to where you are today?
Yeah, very humble beginnings. Thank God. My parents did the best they could. They both worked. I told my mom the other day, tears came to my, well, I had to tell her via text. I didn't want her to know I was crying. But like, I don't know how you did it. You worked and you always made sure there was dinner available for us every night. And we had clothes to wear and stuff like that, clean clothes, clean house. But yeah, I grew up in a 900 square foot house. Me and my sister, my mom and my dad, they're still high school sweethearts to this day. But I saw money was something that you work every day for, and you hopefully have enough money to pay your bills at the end of
Mm,
the month type thing. And I was reading real estate books when I was in high school. I wanted to
really?
do something different than my great grandpa, my grandpa. A lot of them they were all dairy farmers.
Okay.
Started up on and not the owners of the dairy, but the actual workers on the dairy farm. And that's a whole lot of hard work and not much money goes into that. So that's how I learned about money. And I knew there was books out there. There was people I could meet and read about and surround myself with to change the legacy for the Bowers family.
So you're reading real estate books in high school. I'm going to tell you when I was in high school about the last thing I was thinking about was real estate. What was that trigger for you? How did you know anything about real estate besides
Yeah.
the house that you lived in and what your mom and dad worked to keep you guys a roof over your heads?
Yeah.
How'd you get
I
there?
don't know, honestly. I always wanted to be a business guy. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I used to sell creepy crawlers on the side of the road. It was like this little machine. We'd make them. I don't even know if they have those anymore, but I'd sell those things on the side of the road. Then I borrowed the neighbor's push mower and I mowed their yard and then the neighbor's yard. So they allowed me to use their push mower for other people. And that turned into a lawn landscape company where we had over 100 accounts at one time. That lawn service is still going to this day. So I always wanted to be a builder, and I love seeing how people would transform real estate. This is before HGTV, like all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was always fascinated with it.
Okay. So you went to college, you went right into the military. How did that
Yeah.
transition?
So I did go to college, a little bit of night school really is what I did. I went to real estate school from about 2004 to about 2007. I was going to college on and off, horticulture classes. Then I had to take the real estate exam 3 times. I am not a school person. I'm not good at school. Well, I just didn't, I was bored by it. I would work all day mowing grass and then go to school at night. So I had to take the real estate exam 3 times. We got hit with a couple hurricanes back in, geez, Francis and Jean is all I remember. It was like
Okay.
2006. So it
Okay.
delayed my real estate test taking. But yeah, I finally got that real estate license in 2007. Then 2008 kind of crash happened in 2009. I think it happened for me, not to me, it happened for me.
Me
Um,
too.
and I was just broke. I'd like to hear your story too. I was broke. I was flat broke. Went from owning my own house. We had to rent that house out and we moved to the coast to West Palm Beach, Florida, so I could sell real estate, me and my
Mhm.
wife.
Mhm.
And things got pretty rough there for a while. Couldn't pay the rent any longer. Had to let the landlord know that I could no longer pay. They wrecked my credit for breaking
Yeah.
lease and moved in with my in-laws. And I was like, I got to do something different. So I joined the military.
That happened to you or happened for you. That was the same thing. We were investing in 2004, 2005, 2006, 2000, and at 2006, 2007, 2008, right up until it was probably the end of 2007, maybe early 2007. We bought a lot of stuff with a lot of leverage.
Yeah.
And then 2008, and we hit the bottom on that one.
Such good
Talk about
lessons, right?
I wrecked my own credit, but it was just it was bad. It was bad.
Such good lessons, though. Look, like you don't have to read a real estate book. You've been through the real estate book.
And then so everybody else knows you don't have to do it on your own. You can learn from my mistakes, you can learn from Brent's mistakes, you don't have to make those same mistakes because 'cause they're expensive mistakes, and they really hurt and can put you back. You'll make new ones, but we can keep you from making those
That's
same
right.
ones.
Yeah.
So you went through all of that and knew like, "Okay, okay, we got this real" it's like I did, real estate's not the problem. The way I understand things, the way I was doing things was the problem. So
Mhm.
you got through that, you're living with your in-laws, you're like, "I gotta do something different." Where did you go from there?
Yeah. So I went to the Air Force recruiting
You went to the
office.
military, that's right, sorry.
Yeah, I went
Uh-huh.
to the Air Force recruiting office. They wouldn't take me. And so luckily the recruiter said, "Go next door. The Army will take anybody." And I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And so I went next door. I'm very coachable, by the way. I didn't take offense to it. I just charged forward. And a couple months later, I was in basic training, completed that, then went to Fort Gordon, Georgia, got that training out of the way. And then it's time to move to Germany. And I was there for a couple months with me and my wife and off to Afghanistan for a year.
Mhm. Good. So what I'm hearing is that we get into a position, we have this problem. Yours was the same as mine, that 2008 problem. And there's sacrifices that have to be made to get past that. Mine was leaving Hawaii, not nearly as bad as having to go to Afghanistan. Left Hawaii, maybe it is. I had to come to California. Anyway, never mind. We had to- You have to do what you have to do to get what you want to have.
Yeah.
There's some sacrifice made somewhere. It
Yeah.
depends on how deep you wanna go for that thing. You
Yeah.
were in the military then for 8 years?
Yeah, 8.5 years, 8.5 years,
Okay.
and Napoleon Hill says if you want something bad enough, you gotta make the sacrifice for it. Like, how much are you willing to pay for this?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going through some things right now, and I'm like, "How much am I willing to pay for this?" It's really a question to ask on a regular basis. While you're in the military, I have a feeling your mindset of I'm an entrepreneur, it's like you're not going to be you were an entrepreneur, and I'm going to get from here what I need to get, serve the way I should serve, and then I'm going to doesn't sound like you went in there planning to be full-time, 20-year, 30-year military, or did you?
I didn't know I was taking it one day at a time, and then I became an officer, and I was gung ho for it, and then when my first son came into the world, I was ready to say, "Okay, this was a great chapter. Let's start a new one. I wanna be home more often."
Okay. So was that being away at that time that got you like, "Okay, I gotta figure out something different." How did
Yeah.
you get back to real estate?
So you're right, though. I was the whole time I was in the military, I was still an entrepreneur, still in business, started other businesses while in the military, even though you're not supposed to have those. In basic training, I made beds for my buddies and got paid. I pulled fire guard duty. I stayed up all night long and got paid extra for that from buddies. And then in AIT, I ironed the dress blues and the class A's to help people get a 4-day pass. And I wasn't going on these 4-day passes 'cause I didn't want to spend the money, or I didn't have the
Uh-huh.
money to spend it. Let's just be honest. Because I came into the military owing some money for not having much money coming in, but and then in Afghanistan, I would drive off post, off the fob and go buy cigarettes from the Afghans and sell them to my buddies, which was really stupid, by the way, but that didn't last too long. I only did that for a little while, but what changed was my first marriage, because I was on back-to-back deployments, so I was home for a year from the first or 1-year tour, then gone another year, and my first one was like, "I just can't do this, I'm out." So then I met this beautiful, amazing woman that I'm married to today, and she came into the picture right as I was, becoming an Army officer, going to
Okay.
college in Melbourne, Florida, Florida Tech. So she hadn't seen what the military was like yet. Pretty much as soon as I got to my next duty station in Colorado, it was training again to prepare for another combat deployment. So I saw the writing on the wall. I was like, "Oh, man, there's a baby involved now. I'm always gone." I saw my child for 4 months out of his 12 months. Like, he's a year old, and I've seen him for 4 months.
Mm.
I was nervous. History is gonna repeat itself, and this time with children. So I started making my exodus plan. That was through vacant raw land and real estate, and, heard it on a podcast, just like something like this, and just took action.
Okay. So did you start was your first real estate purchase for yourself, your own portfolio land, or was it a building, or what was your jump in, your
Yeah,
toe into the pool, or did
I
you
started with
dive?
Rentals. Started with
Okay.
rentals. That first rental that I bought in 2007, I still had that.
Okay.
Bought another one when I was in college to live in, rented out all those rooms and made money to live there, honestly. And then I bought another house while I was in college, fixed that up. I rented that one out. And then when we got to Colorado Springs, I bought a triplex. So I was still buying rentals, but I now created another massive problem for myself.
Mhm.
These rentals were taking all my discretionary income because they weren't the best. They were fixer uppers. They weren't cash flowing enough. So I couldn't really leave my job. I needed to make about $4,500 a month minimum after
Mhm.
taxes to afford our lifestyle. So I was searching for answers like crazy. I was listening to podcasts, listening to the 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. My car was a mobile university. I was always learning.
Yep.
And I heard a guy talking about flipping land and doubling his money overnight. And I was like, I've never made money overnight in real estate. I don't know if this is true, but I took immediate action and made a lot of mistakes, but started making money.
Okay. Did you lose a lot of money before you started making money when you say make mistakes?
Well, I made mistakes by doing dumb things. I still, to this day, thank God, since 2016, have never lost money on a land deal yet.
Okay.
Thank God. So I made a bunch of mistakes and I can tell you this, the reason behind it was I sent these letters out. I sent postcards to the people that were behind on their taxes, to the landowners behind on their taxes. So I sent them a postcard that said, "Hey, my name is Brent. I'd like to buy your land. If you're interested in an all cash fair price offer, call me or text me. God bless you." And if anybody wants a copy of this postcard, they can just go to thelandsharks.com/postcard and you can see exactly what it looks like. And you can start doing this today. So I want to make sure people know how this is doable. So the first person calls, says, "Hey, I'll sell you a piece of land." All right, I got it years ago because I did someone's taxes. He's a CPA, retired CPA.
Mhm.
So he
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
traded it. He gave me the land for what he owed in back taxes. And I was like, oh my God, I have no clue what this is worth. So I went and drove to the land, called a real estate office. I was like, hey, what can you list this for me? Like, what would you list it for? Like, what's the blowout price? He said 10,000. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm buying this for $285. I could sell it for 10,000. So I thanked her for her time. I was trying to get off the phone with her and she made an offer to me for 5 grand. She's like, what if I just bought it from you for 5,000? I was like, sold, let's do it. And so the next week, so I called the seller real quick and I said, hey, can I pay you next week? Because I didn't have $285. So this is 2016. I'm a second lieutenant in the army. Like, this is not a good thing. Really, I had diaper money I had to, pay for.
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, whatever. I don't care. So I paid him on Tuesday. I got a quit claim deed, which is dumb. I didn't do any title search. I didn't check. See, these are the mistakes I made. I
Yeah.
just trusted the guy. I didn't know I was so excited. I was about to make $5,000. So I
Yeah.
brought that quit claim deed to the title insurance company and on Tuesday night and then went and picked up my certified check for 5,000 on Wednesday. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. I just made more than what I make in 30 days in the military completely. Took me like a few hours. And then I did another one the following day, bought it for $500. This time I sold it for $500 down and 400 a month. Now I have passive income, true
Uh-huh.
net profit. And that's the one that changed my life. And I just kept doing it until I had like 12,000 a month coming in, put in my army resignation. Now I do much larger deals. I do them with other people. I do them with friends. I do them with family members that loan money and we get land at like 60 cents on the dollar and we flip it or we sell it on financing. Like, if I can simplify this anymore, we're buying land at a discount and we're selling it for a little more. We're really
So
selling it for what's worth.
same principle as flipping a house. You buy a house for except a lot of times in the house you're gonna upgrade or improve it and then you sell it. Do you ever improve the land? Do you get it entitled? Do you add
Yeah.
anything to it? Do you do any of that stuff to
Yeah.
increase the value?
Absolutely. I take before and after shots. Before, no, I'm just kidding. We don't do it. Not much. I am working on one entitlement play right now. I did a joke the other day. It was a before shot and an after shot, and it was in Florida, so we don't have seasons here. So it was the same exactly. I was like,
Exact same
"What?"
thing.
They didn't think it was. No one thought it was funny except for me. You can get away with it in Colorado. You can do winter and then spring.
Yeah.
But yeah, not really. No, I don't do any improvements. I am doing one entitlement play, actually two of them, one in Colorado Springs, one in North Carolina. There's big money involved in those. Those take a little longer. Those are like a
Yeah.
year, much more risk. But I actually am doing that deal with another friend that she loaned me money and she's got a mortgage and a promissory note. And She's gonna share in some upside, and I couldn't have done it without her. So I'm doing deals now with other people. I don't do these $285 deals anymore, but it was life changing. I built the passive income side. Now I'll still do a regular, we call them simple land flips. About once a year, I'll pick up a project like an entitlement play, or we're building 30 houses on a couple acres we own in Colorado Springs. So a lot of
Okay.
cool
So you've
stuff.
done some different things you can do. Do you borrow money from the bank to buy your land, or how do you get the money besides is there ways other than investors to buy land?
Yeah, you could. You can definitely borrow money from banks. It's a pain in the butt, honestly, but to this day, I've never borrowed a single penny from a bank to buy land. I borrowed from banks to buy buildings, industrial buildings, houses,
Mhm.
but never land. It's just so much easier. Now, if I was going to go and buy an agricultural parcel and farm it or ranch it, now I would be talking to a bank for sure. But the kind of land I'm buying, generally you need a 50% down. So there's really an inefficient market. I prefer to seller finance my land. I like
Okay.
the so I've got a piece of land right now I'm selling. We bought it for 340,000 in Texas, and we have a buyer for 475,000. He's gonna make a down payment. He's gonna pay us for the next 10 years. We're gonna pull more in interest on this thing than most people's houses cost.
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. So I wouldn't think about that. And do you find your buyers before you do you find the buyer of the land before you put in the contract for it, or do you buy it, hold it, and then look for
Yeah, you gotta be real careful because then I'd be acting as a real estate agent if I was looking for the buyer before I had the land under contract. So there's ways to assign your contract or wholesale the land. So for
Mhm,
instance, let's just say, Felicia, you wanted to sell a piece of land in Oklahoma. It's worth 10,000 and we agree on a price for 5,000. I'm going to get it under contract with you. This is if I was going to wholesale it or assign it.
mhm.
And I'm going to now find the buyer that wants a piece of land at a discount. So I marketed the contract. I got to market the contract, and I find Bob the buyer. I say, "Hey, land's worth about 10,000. I'll give it to you for 8,500, and I've got it under contract for 5,000." I think that was our original number.
Yep,
So
yep,
six,
yep.
7, 8. So I'll keep 3,500 bucks. I'll keep the difference. Now, the way I prefer to do it now is I buy that land for 5,000, and I sell it on the market, whether it be Craigslist, Facebook, or a real estate agent for 10,000, what it's
Mhm,
actually worth. I'm selling it for what
mhm.
it's worth, but I want to get $5,000 down and I'll collect payments for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, however many my buyer wants. I don't care. At 12% interest.
12, okay.
And it just
So
keeps
you're
stacking those notes. Now I'm the bank.
yeah, yeah, and that's actually, this seems like the way that I'm learning too, that's the way to really have the passive income is to be the bank for somebody else. That's the I mean, that's what banks do, you guys. There is it is that interest rate that's making them money. And
Yeah.
when we're the bank, it's because somebody else can't get money from a bank. And so it's a premium. It just costs more to do it that way than if you could go to the bank and get your money at 4%, 6%, of course you would. If you can't, but you want this deal and that the deal will cover that interest for you, then you'll do it all day long. I think so many of us look at the interest rates like, who's paying 12%?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody who wants some land that they can make 20 something percent on. That's who. And
Yeah, that's
they're
right.
it's covered. So that you just it's those deals are out there, you guys. I just want you to know. Don't look at the interest rate, look at the cash flow. Look at how that deal's gonna go. And I'm sure that's what you teach because you probably have the same people coming to you. It's like, who's paying 12% for a loan? I'm like,
Yeah.
we'll do
Well,
it
I'll
all
give
day
you an
long.
example. Like I bought a piece of land for 40,000 and my in-laws financed it for me. They're my lender, they're my bank. And by the way, there's a reason why the banks are the biggest, prettiest buildings in every city in every state is because they know something about money and we should follow them. So I'm borrowing money at 9% from my in-laws and they're going to amortize over 5 years. They'll be paid off in 5 years. Yep. And then I sold the land for 95,000 at 12% for I think 14 and a half years. So I collected 5 grand up front. I collected a $5,000 down payment. I pocketed that money because I just figured we're going to pay ourselves. And then my in-laws payments about 800 a month. And then I collect 946 a month. So I keep the 146 a month. And at the end, after 5 years, when my in-laws are paid, I'll keep the whole 946. So if we look at that whole deal, I'll net over 100K on it. But that's how I can afford to pay 9% to my lender and then charge 12% on the higher amount so I cash flow.
So and this is exactly what banks do. You put your money in the bank is in a savings account, a CD, or whatever vehicle they have, and they're gonna pay you that whopping high interest rate of 4%. And they're gonna
I'll
take your
double it.
money. Say it again?
I'll double it. Call me today.
So they're gonna take your money and loan it out at 8, 9, 10, 12%. So the money they're making, that 12% that they're making, they're taking 4 of that to pay you, and they're keeping the other 8.
That's right.
Okay, that's what Brent just said. He's got a loan for 9%. He loaned it out at 12%. It's gonna cover. He takes a little less cash flow up front, and then as the time goes on, he's getting the whole thing. Interesting.
The power is these 30-year mortgages. I love when I sell a piece of land on a 30-year mortgage because here's an example, which by the way, interest rates are higher than 6% now. But when I looked at this, interest rates were average of 6% back in like 2009. $200,000 mortgage at 6% interest. If you never refinance, you pay your payments on time every month, and you don't sell the house, you're going to pay $1,200 a month for the next 30 years. You're going to pay over $427,000 for that $200,000 mortgage.
Huh.
That's like 200 and something $1,000 in
Of
interest. And
interest.
the first 7 years is pretty much all
Just all
interest because the banks looked and said, well, people move every 5 to 7 years. Let's just front end load it. So they sell or refinance. Guys, if you get a call, if anybody listening to this, I know we've got a very educated audience. Don't ever refinance your house. Like, I don't care what your interest rate is, just pay extra. If you can't afford it, then maybe just rent out your rooms like I did when I was in college.
God.
Like, because I got 2% interest rates, I got 4% interest rate, I got a bunch of properties, and I will never refinance. Like, if I needed to pull money out, then get a line of credit. Don't touch that mortgage.
That it makes sense. It makes sense. I know a lot of people are out there looking to refinance because interest rates went down or when interest rates go down, and that's what we're taught. Refinance it so you get a better deal. Like,
The only way that would benefit you is if they put you down to 0%. That's it. I think that's the only way they'd benefit. Because when they restart that 30-year mortgage, you can go and look at this at you can just Google loan calculator and play with these things. Anybody listening to this and look at that amortization schedule. Look at how much like you're going to be paying. So that $1,200 payment in the first 7 years, like 1,100 of it goes to interest for the first like 4 or 5 years.
hmm, okay. So let's talk about land because I know that's your passion. Can you guys hear the passion when he's talking about his land? And doing these land deals. How is it different? Well, what are the tax benefits, or are there as
Mm.
many tax benefits in land deals as there are in buying as investing in houses and multifamily and that kind of thing? Talk about the difference in the two there.
There's absolutely no tax benefit in buying a piece of land unless you're 1031ing into a parcel of land. That's a whole different story. But I have no tax shelter in the 237 parcels of land that I own. So I have to, like, for instance, if I do a big land sale and I make like $150,000 or more, then I'm going to take that money and I'm going to 1031 that into something more expensive. And it's got to be a building, mobile home park, or a light industrial building, or my office space, or whatever, because you don't have tax benefits. So I take my land money and I buy buildings with it. Cash flowing rentals, by the way, to lower my tax bill because
Mhm.
the IRS wrote these codes for us to do that
Right?
because they want us to invest more. When I buy a property, I employ like multiple people on that transaction. So for instance, I just talked to my CPA and it's almost the end of the year. It's December 31st. And I encourage anybody that hasn't talked to theirs yet, see what your tax liability is going to be this year. Cause I thought I bought enough real estate
Yeah.
to diminish that. I still have an $80,000 liability, even though we pay in every quarter. So I can go buy a $160,000 mobile home park and eliminate that. I can buy a $467,000 building and eliminate that because mobile homes are, how do you say it? They move, so you can depreciate them way faster. I can buy a $160,000 tiny home park, but so all I'm getting at, there's no tax benefit in land. So I got to think other ways. So I take land money and put it into further cash flowing real estate because you got to be careful. You can't keep increasing your lifestyle because at the end of the year, you're going to have a big tax burden and not have the money. So I want to keep buying more cash flowing real estate. So one day it's like, we can't spend all this money.
Yeah. So I think that's really key is that there are lots of different strategies for making money, and then you always got to pay attention to the tax side of it. I'm in the kind of same position as you. I've sold some properties this year at some big gains, and it's like, okay, I've got another one that's on the market. It's like, can you pay me for that next year?
Yeah.
I don't have enough time to figure out how to not have to pay taxes on all
Or
this
seller
money.
finance it or something.
And
Rent it,
it's just,
rent it.
they're willing to, it's like, yeah, let's close it after the first of the year. I'm like, cool, it'll
God
work.
bless America.
Exactly, exactly. Another investor's like, of course, people understand this, and so that's another thing in negotiating a thing. You can negotiate terms, time, you can negotiate so many different things to everybody's benefit. You never know who's gonna get the benefits of just know there's lots of ways to do things. So I really like and thanks for sharing that you don't necessarily get the tax benefit in investing in your land. If you decide to do that, remember you've got to figure out what you're going to do with that money you make so that you're not losing whatever percentage of it, depending on your tax bracket, to the capital gain. So there's a cycle to the money. Money has to move for it to work for you. Just know that.
The benefits of land, though, is you're not dealing with tenants, termites, trash, evictions, all that stuff. I have also bought, renovated, and flipped, I think 25 or 30 houses. And there's a lot that goes into that. And I make good money doing it. But the land is just so much easier. There's so much less hassle. When I sell a parcel of land, I don't hear from those buyers unless they need to change their bank account or their debit card, or they're ready to pay it off, or they sold it, or I have to reach out to them because they're behind on payments. And unfortunately, we have to take land back from time to time.
Okay.
I sold 35 parcels of land this week. And a lot of those parcels I had taken back. I bought a big package deal in Arizona back in 2018 and sold most of it on seller financing and had pretty good note income for a while. And some of them I just took back
Mhm.
over the last year. And I looked and I was like, oh my goodness, we have so many of these I need to sell. So I just sold them bulk to two people and pulled some cash from it. And I'm going to redeploy those funds into something else.
Why is there no competition with this?
I think people are starting to catch on. I said about a year and a half ago, like, there's absolutely no competition in this. But I think people are starting to realize because now I'm starting to see hedge funds buy land.
Mm,
So the blue ocean is starting to get a little red in it because I think they're realizing how it's still not, there's not as much competition as there is in houses. I've went to a
multifamily,
lot of,
yeah.
oh my goodness, I was at a multifamily seminar a year ago. There must have been 600 people in the room. The biggest seminar I've ever been to where land investors were at, I think maybe there was 100 people, and I was one of them.
It's just
And there's so many more parcels of land out there. You drive from California to Florida, it is unbelievable how much land. And I'm creating more land, by the way. I'm just kidding. I'm creating more assessors parcel numbers. So, for instance,
Okay.
this 38 acres, only guy can create more land, I believe. This 38 acres in North Carolina, we're turning it into 80 lots. So, we're creating 80 more parcels of land.
I thought of my question. So when we talk about looking at buying property, buildings, multifamily houses, whatever the investors are thinking of at this point, I talk about you want to get your team on the ground. You want to buy where there's a market, there all the demographics and everything's going your way. Is that the same way you look at buying land, or is it a different base that how you decide where you're going to buy?
It's like that, but I try and simplify it even more because I'm a simple guy. I really am. I look where land's selling. When I see where land's selling, I figure out what it's selling for, I price it out, and then I create an offer letter. I didn't create it, honestly, my software does. And then we simplify it to where 20, 30, 40 of those go out each day offering people for their land and they sign it and they send it back to my email.
Okay. So you have a software program that helps you find where land is selling, and then is that where you said? Where that's how you go and decide where you wanna buy?
Exactly. Yep. We
Okay.
see where the land's selling. That's where the demand's at. And then we go in and figure out how much is selling for, how much per acre, how much per square foot. And then we make offers according to that every single day, not over the phone, but just literally it's just sending them a direct mailer. They get it and they're like, huh, okay, we'll sell it at that. Or sometimes they'll call and yell at us because they think we're insulting them or something. And when they accept the offer, they sign it and they email it back to me or send me a picture of it.
And your next step is to then find a buyer for it?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways, and preferably I usually plan to close on it. I'll buy the land myself, and then
Uh-huh.
I'll find actually, let me back up. The next step is I'm going to go and see what land sales specialist real estate agent is in that area selling parcels of land today. And I'm going to call
Okay.
that person. I'm going to say, Felicia, hey, I see you're the expert agent selling the land in Lawton, Oklahoma. I got 1.23 acres. Here's the address. I've got it under contract. I'm buying it. I want to know, what is your blowout price? What could you list this for me for? And what could you sell it for in the next 30 days? Your money is on the line here, and you're paying a hard money lender interest every single month, interest only. What would you list this thing to get it gone in 30 days?
Okay.
Then I get that price. I'm like, okay, yeah, that looks like a great deal. I'll call you as soon as I own it. And then I also asked them to go walk the land as well, because I'm not getting on a plane
Yeah.
to go look at this
Yeah.
stuff. Mm. So then I'll go to closing. I'll go to the title insurance company. We'll pay our earnest money deposit. Sometimes I'll call a lender, say, hey, can you lend on this one? It's 300,000 or 150,000 or 50,000, whatever. And I give them the numbers. Here's what my land sales specialist real estate said the blowout price is. So I try and keep my lenders. So if the land's worth 100,000, I really don't want to spend more than 65,
Okay.
just to be safe. Because God forbid, like the real estate market shifts overnight and now the land's worth 65,000, not 100. Well, at least I can sell it and get my money back and pay my lender back. That's the worst case scenario. And then we'll list it. We'll take drone photos. We'll take video. We'll market it. So this is how we improve land. We market it. We market it very well. Pictures, video, ground photos, drone photos. I've went as far before to do a little clearing, like a little mulching, not cutting down trees, but just to where people can see where the land's at. I've got
Right.
some land sharks. They'll put a fence up and a circle driveway. They'll do little improvements like that, and just they get so much more money for their land when they do that.
And are you doing these photos and doing all the marketing, or is the person that you called to say, "What's your drop? Tell me how I can get rid of this in 30 days. What's the
Mhm.
price?" Basically.
Yeah, it's
Are
usually
they doing all that marketing for you?
Usually the realtor does the marketing, and sometimes they'll have good people, sometimes they won't. And that's another thing. You can tell who the realtors are marketing the best because you'll usually see a video or a YouTube video, a walkthrough. So yeah, usually they have teams to do that. And if they don't, I help them with that. Some areas I have to. So I've even offered to pay for it for many a realtors because I want to make sure we showcase it the best possible. Show the lines where the land's at, the contour
Mhm.
lines, what the
Mhm.
elevations are, but we just really want to market it the best. Let's just say I'm in a super competitive area. Everyone's asking 100,000 an acre. Well, I'm asking 95,000 an acre, and I'll offer financing. So
Mhm.
it's not like a house where this one's got a pool, this one's got granite. No, this is land. This is land. This guy's he's asking less and he offers financing. Let's take him up on it.
I forgot I own some land. My family owns some land in West Virginia. We'll talk about that when we get off this so I can get an understanding of what to do with it because it's been a thing. It's been in the family for a long time. My father's great somebody won it in a card game, and it's
That's
just
so
passed
cool.
from it's old, and it's the land we've had it, and now all the people that started it are gone, and then my dad's generation, and me's the only one left in his generation, so now I'm trying to figure out the whole thing with that thing. It's, like, very interesting. I'm like, "I don't know what to do." I don't think we should let it go. We gotta figure this out, keep the taxes up on it, and then figure out what we're gonna
How many acres?
I have to look at it. I haven't looked at it in a little bit. It's a couple of different parcels. I can't remember. I honestly
Okay.
cannot remember.
So say rent it
We
out
should
for
talk.
hunting land. That's what I would do.
Huh, okay. We'll talk about that some more. Okay. So you have a podcast. Oh, veterans. Let's talk because I don't there may not be any veterans listen to this, but everybody knows a veteran who's looking to do something and wants to be better and have a better life. Just like you talked about. Maybe they're not a veteran. Maybe it's that guy still in the military thinking, "Oh my gosh, I got to get out of here because I'm never spending time with my kids. Now I don't see my wife." Say your story. I can just imagine that's not a unique story. I can't imagine of military people in general. How can they get started in this? It's because it sounds scary because 'cause you're thinking about doing something, I don't have the money and I don't know this. How can they get started?
Yeah, real simple. They can go in their backyard where they're currently stationed at and see where the land's selling. There's free resources like Redfin. You can see where the land's selling at, and then go in and just start sending letters to people that are behind on their taxes or people that own land in the area. I use a program called PropStream. People can get a 7-day free trial if they go to the landsharkslist.com. So they can literally pull a list today and mail them that postcard that I offered at the landsharks.com/postcard and do income producing activities. That's get in front of landowners. And then once you got a good enough deal, you can go and market this land on Facebook and Craigslist. I used to put signs out all over Colorado Springs to sell my land.
Mm,
And there's so many ways to get involved. Maybe the person listening to this is like, there's no way I've got time to start a business
okay.
like Brent's
Yep,
talking about. Cause I got
yep.
resources. I got a business. I've got a office manager that does a lot of this for me to where it doesn't take much of my time anymore. But someone listening to this might have cash. Like the guy that just bought 30 parcels of land for me, he's going to sell each one of those for around 4,900 a piece at 12% interest. So he took his IRA, he's got a self-directed IRA, wrote the check for the land, and he's going to because he's earning like nothing in his IRA is
His
what he told
IRA.
me.
Mhm.
He said, so now I'm going to earn 12%. And like I sold him these parcels for 1,000 each. I bought them for 300 each. Saying he's going to sell them for what I've been selling for about 4,000 each. So he's going to have a market up $3,000, 4x, right? He's going to
Okay.
3x each one of those plus charge interest. So if you're thinking, I don't have time to do all that and market this land and go deal with realtors. Well, if you got cash sitting on the sidelines or in the 401k or the crazy stock market, this is a way you could secure cash like my in-laws. Like they just went to Ireland.
Mhm,
They're
mhm.
looking, and my mother-in-law said, we haven't touched the land account yet. It's growing because I've been paying them interest on that money for
Yeah,
a while now.
yeah, yeah. So, I still feel people being overwhelmed with this,
Mm,
just thinking about all the steps because there's a lot to do. I know you help people, so how can they get in touch with you? It's like, "Okay, I did the land I found there's land here, now what do I do with this
yeah.
now?"
The easiest way to get in touch with me is go to the Land Sharks, it's plural, the landsharks.com and just schedule a call. Just click the schedule the call button. I'm going to ask you for your name, phone number, and email, and I call you back as soon as possible. I'm also on all the social medias and YouTube under Brent L, and that stands for land. Yes, Brent L Bowers.
This will be in the show notes, you guys. So if you're doing something other than sitting there with your pen and writing things down, come back to the show notes to find Brent. You have a podcast too?
I am one of the hosts on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. Every
Okay.
Friday, I have a case study come out from someone that I basically interview a land shark that I have coached. And we talk about how they got their first land deal, how much they made, how they found it, how much they bought it for, how long it took them to sell it. So it's a little confusing, the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. I host it with Brent Daniels and myself, Brent Bowers.
Brent
So
Bowers,
I'm
okay.
every Friday.
Brent and Brent.
Yeah.
So for you people for you guys out there thinking about this and just like, "I don't quite understand it," that sounds like a place to go. The wholesaling, what's it called again?
The Wholesaling Inc. podcast, like Wholesaling
Wholesaling Inc.
Incorporated.
podcast where he talks to his own students, people he's helped do deals. So if it's like it's not clear yet, that sounds like the best place to go to actually hear it again and again and again. And listen to this because we threw out a lot of numbers, a lot of percentages, a lot of different things, a lot of words that this I'm excited. Like I told Brent when we first came on, I was like, I don't think about land as something because I always think about cash flow. And then when he talked about the financing and being the bank, I was like, oh yeah, there's cash flow there. Never don't like sometimes you just gotta get your mind opened up and sometimes it takes a while. You gotta get that right person to say the thing to you at the right time for you to open up. Okay, so I'm gonna have you summarize one more time how people can reach you so that they can learn more about investing in land and having passive income from land, which is my to me, the cherry, just the passive income from that thing.
Yeah, go to the landsharks.com and just schedule a call. And again, I'm on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube as Brent L. Bowers.
And Brent's easy to talk to. I'm just gonna tell you, this isn't he's not gonna I don't think he's gonna get you on the phone and start hammering you and trying to sell you something.
Yes, I will. Absolutely. That's where the no. I'm gonna sell you something, that's for sure. Either a piece of land, you're gonna invest in land with me, or maybe I'll invite you to come into the Land Sharks program.
There you go. There you go. At for your own benefit. So you'll see the benefit, you're gonna do it. I 100% guarantee you. Not just the cost, the investment, and what it's gonna do for you and what your return on that's gonna be and how fast that return. I think Brent can help you with a lot of things. Thanks so much for being on here. Thanks for talking about land. Don't go anywhere because I gotta talk to you about some more stuff. You guys, we'll see you next week. Consider land. I'm considering it a lot more right now.